Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.
That was quick.
Yeah, Ma, don't worry. I'm driving on the new expressway and it's absolutely safe. Hello and welcome to the second edition of PwC Presents The Winning Leap in association with CNBC TV 18. I'm Shereen Bhan. This is a show where we take a look at how businesses create value, discuss the strategies and opportunities that are vital for their growth, and the various challenges that they face in India's economic environment. In today's Curtain Raiser episode, I'm in conversation with Deepankar Sanwalka, India Advisory Leader at PwC. Deepankar, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18. Let me first talk to you about the macroeconomic environment that we're seeing. There is a lot of positive movement, whether you look at the twin deficits, the fiscal deficit and the current account deficit, which were key concerns under the UPA, at least in the fag end of the UPA's tenure. Growth rates, we can argue about whether it's 7 or 7.5%, but still the fastest growing economy in the world. We can argue about the deflator, but nevertheless, things are moving in a positive direction. Yes. The pace perhaps has not been as per expectations. How do you assess the environment today?
The way I look at it, I think so we are in times of major change. There will be accelerated economic growth along with a radical change and improvement in our human development indexes. How this will happen, I think so the ecosystem has to work together, whether it is our entrepreneurs or government or businesses. The solutions which have to be now deployed for an accelerated growth need to be something which are what we call the winning leap solutions.
Okay.
Those winning leap solutions need to either skip a generation or need to be disruptive in nature. Unless until we really create those, I don't think so we are going to accelerate the growth. It will remain at the 7% level then.
Which are the sectors or which are the companies in specific that you believe are at the cusp of making that transition, that are at the cusp of making that pivot?
I would say financial services. I think so if you see what is happening in that space, it's just fantastic. Whether it is the fintech models which are coming up, whether it is the Jan Dhan Yojana which came up, the way technology is being leveraged more so in financial services to bring financial services to the last mile to reach individual, I think so you are seeing a lot of change, and that is what will drive growth. Healthcare, I think so the insurance scheme which the government came out, it's fantastic because what it has done, it has created on the demand side an ability to people to use healthcare. I think so supply side we need to still have models, but
huge
you can see
problem
that
there.
But we need, when we're coming about there. So I think so that way there are each sector you can go and say there are changes coming through. Companies need to look at themselves each time and say, am I doing enough to be relevant in the future? If not, then what do I need to do? All my CEOs, companies ask us this question. We ask ourselves the same question.
One of the key aspects is going to be how competitive India will be in comparison to the rest of the world. But, it's not just about the cost of doing business. It's also, as you pointed out, are we providing solutions that the world wants? Not just at a lower price point, but are we providing solutions that the world wants? And that's the question that's being asked of Indian technology, for instance, and Indian IT services companies are facing that challenge today. How do you read that?
Technology, I think so, has to be brought in anything and everything. We all need to, I would say, become technology companies in the business of things. Then what we start bringing to the table are solutions for our clients which are truly market-led, which are truly path-breaking. So can I leverage technology in a way which I can help my clients to create value for themselves. Similarly, I would say the companies need to do the same thing for themselves. Tomorrow, you need to then say, okay, what am I good at? And what I'm not so good at. Recognizing that and then create alliances.
So you're saying that we will see an era of strategic alliances and partnerships. We've seen that globally as well, but more so you believe that that is going to be the case in India also. And the second thing that you talked about, which I want to pick on, is that companies will now need to make sacrifices, or they will need to make strategic choices of what is core and what is non-core. Especially Indian conglomerates are going to have to make tough choices of which are the businesses that will continue to be businesses of the future that they should bet on, and give up on those that may not be as relevant.
The era of just adding manpower or adding assets and growing is over. You have to make those choices and say, okay, this is something which I really want to be in, and it could be a traditional area, nothing wrong with that. But in that area, how do I really become the best? So for example, I can be a construction company, but then am I doing construction in a process, in a manner where my cost is 5% less than the nearest competitor? How do I make that happen? Can I leverage digital to make that happen? Internet of Things, they call it, for example, and then create data and then feeds back into the system. Similarly, how can a cutting edge, or I can say, okay, what is an area of future? So for example, we think about electric cars, okay? Can someone get into that space in India and say, okay, I can make that work?
How should companies be approaching these opportunities and looking beyond government intervention or government help?
Firstly, is there a true market in India? And I believe that as time goes by, hybrids and electric vehicles have a market in India. But then how do you create an ecosystem to support that particular model? Okay, so I may have an electric vehicle, but if I don't have stations to charge my cars, then what am I supposed to do? For government to say that you are on your own, personally, I don't think so that is sufficient. If they believe that that is the way to go, that's the way to reduce your carbon footprint,
so then they must encourage green technology.
Absolutely.
Okay, let me also ask you, because you were talking about how this is, of course, a show about the winning leap. And perhaps India is one of the few markets, let me talk about telecom, for instance, where we're likely to see a leap from 2G straight to 4G, because the difference between moving from 3G to 4G has been really, really compressed. How do you see the telecom sector playing out? What kind of opportunities will that further throw up for businesses in India?
The winning leap up here is about businesses creating models which are absolutely driven because of the telecom boom, because of the smartphones which we carry. So 5 years back, I don't think so Ola would have been as successful as it is today. But that is because of the whole telecom infrastructure which has been created in the marketplace. And you would see more and more such disruptive business models which are coming up, which are entirely driven because of the telecom boom which we have, or the speed of of data which we carry, and you'll see improvements in that place. The telecom sector itself, I think so, is going through transformation. They frankly need to really determine for themselves as to what they want to be for their future, from being just a pipe, that okay, how do they create value for themselves? So I think so that's a different question, and that telecom companies are frankly struggling with at some level.
Which are the sectors that you're most excited about? And I also specifically want to ask you about what you see as far as manufacturing is concerned. Everyone is talking about smart manufacturing, automation, Industry 4.0, and that throws up real challenges for economies like India, where you have a growing population, you have a young population that requires jobs. So we may not be sort of removing the workforce and installing robots, but as you get towards smarter manufacturing and productivity enhances, you are going to have a problem of creating those jobs, aren't you?
Manufacturing is on the cusp of what the winning leap solution, which we are now generically calling Industry 4.0. The availability of Internet of Things, so putting sensors or robots in every area of manufacturing, then that is about the data creation. Then how are you doing analyzing that data to provide value to the company so that they can further improve it? So while some of the labor area may reduce in terms of jobs, I think the jobs get created in other areas. So the skilling part comes into play. Overall, I would say the jobs are going to go up, The areas where the jobs are
But
going
there
to
hasn't
change.
been any evidence of that so far.
Yes.
Even when we were growing on an average at 7%.
I agree with you. I think so, but there is not enough evidence of Industry 4.0 being implemented as of now. I think so. It is in its baby steps. There are few companies which are getting into it. I would say another 5 years down the line, once a couple of companies do that, they start winning out there, other companies start following it. And then you start seeing the change happening. Also, infrastructure as such is the largest job creator after agriculture. Right. Clearly, I think so the government policies need to recognize this, provide that environment. I think
they're
so
spending the money.
Yeah, they're spending the money and they're doing a lot. Yet, the private sector investment has to pick up. You can see there's an effort being made. But my sense is that there will just some more time. There is change coming through, but it will happen, and I would say jobs will get created, but it's not an easy going.
On that note, it's time for us to take a break, but when we return, we continue our conversation on the winning leap.